so many members, is left lifetime to deal with that kind of trauma, you see. They are also the last responder, you see. And we can't do, you see, unfortunately we can't do. And if we can do something little, I think perhaps that is where we should really do. Finally, I end with two slogans, and which I am saying because I think these slogans and poems, I saw a good, book by an idiom, is very important. I think this conveys, this medium conveys, you see. One is, आपदा नहीं हो भारी यदि पूरी हो तैयारी. We have been saying it, but look at what has happened. And I think how so true. आपदा नहीं, इतनी भारी नहीं होती अगर तैयारी होती. लेकिन आपकी DDMPs नहीं है, आपकी SDMPs नहीं है, आपकी शायद SDMA तो मिल ही नहीं रही है, कुछ कर ही नहीं रही है. कुछ कोशिश तो करें, हो सकता है फेल करेंगे, doesn't matter, you see. We need to do that, you see. And दूसरी, विकास ऐसा हो जो आफत से बचाए. विकास ऐसा हो जो आफत से बचाए, and विकास ऐसा हो जो आफत न बन जाए. For whatever now is going to be done. Let us not build schools which kill children. They are not meant to kill children. They are meant to, make citizens, train them, educate them, like it happened in Bhuj. And hospitals are not supposed to kill their patients and nurses and doctors, like again it happened in Bhuj. Not taking the example of Uttarakhand, I don't know, I'm sure they hold equally true, you see. So, but whatever we are going to do, so build back better, you see, in other terms, you see. But आपदा नहीं हो भारी यदि पूरी हो तैयारी, and विकास ऐसा हो जो आफत से बचाए, और विकास ऐसा हो जो आफत न बन जाए, you see. We really got to institutionalize this, imbibe this, and practice this. Thank you very much. I suppose the discussions have been very good, and thanks a lot.
Thank you, Anil, very much. And I think true to the spirit of learning from Uttarakhand, I am a learner here. So I am closing this session, thanking all of you, and I hope end is the next session.
Session 3, the way forward. Thank you.
Distinguished speakers, Sri Chandy Prasad Bhatt will give the keynote address, and of course Dr. Mujafar Ahmed, Honorable Member NDMA, with our chief guest. The theme of the session is Way Forward, Future Strategy. I think, what is the time?
Time is up to 6:30.
Yeah.
Now,
But I think we should try to complete by 6:15 or so, because many people will like to after a whole day's discussion, people must be tired. But we try to complete at 6:15, 6:20, so latest by 6:30 we are out of this hall. And in the earlier session somebody said that we don't learn the lessons of earlier disasters and all that, but we must at least learn the lessons of the earlier sessions, so we should not go beyond the, so that's how we should try to work out. While I'll just take 2 minutes to introduce the theme, because it is way forward. In fact, in the earlier session, a lot of discussion has taken place about the way forward. Starting in the morning session, that it was about search and rescue and relief. Then we went up to other aspects also, administration, coordination and so on. But a lot of discussion took place, and particularly the presentation of Mr. Agarwal, there were issues about the reconstruction program and what should be done. And there were other speakers about long-term aspect. So many important aspects of way forward we have already discussed. And when we discuss about way forward, one can also discuss about very, not long-term, but very long-term aspects, like how to preserve the environment and so on. On that also, Mr. Chandy Prasad Bhatt has already given his idea in the morning also in the inaugural session. And that's a that's a subject by itself. I think for the long-term ecological aspect and future strategy, we need a full days or more than that actually. So what I would like to suggest and request all the speakers, that when we talk about way forward, we should look at it from the perspective of the people who are affected. We have discussed what were the problems, what were the lessons learned, search and rescue, how commendable work was done by all the forces and so on. And Also the issue about relief and many unnecessary relief material. But what should be done for the people to mitigate their hardship? And there comes the reconstruction and rehabilitation. I think if we focus on that mostly, then we will be able to do justice to this 1 hour. And in this context, of course, there is a need for a comprehensive reconstruction program, and Mr. Agarwal has given some ideas. So I would like to just mention 2-3 points that for the speakers to focus on. What should be the scope, very briefly, of the reconstruction program? Like some issues were also mentioned, like we need not only the physical reconstruction like roads and power transmission lines and so on, but also we should look at the social rehabilitation, like people who are affected, whose relatives have died. Livelihood also has to be focused on. And more importantly, capacity building. That was also pointed out by some of the speakers. So broadly, the scope of the reconstruction plan, what it should be. Should it be a very comprehensive plan? We already have the experience, we must learn from that. The other issue is that it should also include a very effective early warning system. Like after the tsunami, we have a very effective early warning system, IMCOIS and so on, here also. But that can be only broadly mentioned. We can't discuss here in this session what should be the nature of early warning. It's much more scientific. We must try to look at how to convert this adversity into an opportunity. And some of the long-term measures we can discuss in this, and I should say medium-term measures for the next 3 to 5 years, what should be done. But something which needs to be done in the next 10 years, 15 years, I think we'll leave it to some other. When we talk about the reconstruction, the shelter aspect, I think that is the most important. That is one of the most basic necessity. And what should be our approach, and that will affect the people, because in this morning we discussed mostly about those who had come from outside, how they were rescued and so on. There were some passing references about the people who belong to that area, to Uttarakhand, and who have been affected. What do we do about their shelter? In this context, I would like to mention, I think one mention was made about the shelter for the coming winter and so on. When a major disaster takes place, there are 3 types of shelter actually required. One is what we call temporary shelter immediate, means something has happened, houses have collapsed, immediately you need something, some school rooms or something very, very temporary. Then you need something, the interim shelter or intermediate period, till the permanent houses are constructed for 6 months, 1 year, it may take 2 years also, it may take 1 to 3 years. What sort of shelter we should provide, and the permanent shelter. And there again, what should be the nature of the design, who should construct, will it be an owner-driven approach, it may or may not be applied in some cases, what should be, who will construct, the quality is also most important. In many areas that has been the most difficult task. So what should be the nature of approach to reconstruction of shelter, and of course housing, whether they should be insured and so on. And will there be need for relocation? Because many people today mentioned about relocation also, so that we have to look at scientifically. But the experts have said that nowhere in the world it is possible to relocate the entire community. So that we must have to keep it in mind. And people's participation, whatever we do, shelter, reconstruction, or whatever, how to involve the people so that whatever is done, it is to they feel involved and they are able to utilize it. And finally, I should say that basic to all this, shelter, reconstruction and so on, the damage assessment. Mention was made about damage assessment, I think, but that is at the macro level. First, they must have had some rough estimate in the beginning. Then, of course, detailed estimate for preparing the plans by NGOs and others. But what is most important is the individual damage. And that is the most important, in most cases that has foundered. And there are a lot of hardship to the people, because whatever assistance to be provided under the reconstruction program by the government, whether it is from their own resources or Government of India or the World Bank or the other multilateral agencies, the assistance to be given based on the actual damage, and that has to be done house to house. I think some work might have been done. How to do that? And there are thousands of complaints would come in the Gujarat context. I worked as CEO of the Gujarat State Disaster Management after the 2001 earthquake. There were, of course, much larger number of people are affected, but there we received about 40,000 complaints on the damage assessment itself, the demand for resurvey and so on. That's a very important and delicate issue. So how to do the damage assessment? Large number of teams are to be constituted. Each one may constitute a technical person, a supervisor, or some technical civil engineer, not an engineer, but maybe a diploma holder, a person from the revenue department or whichever the disaster management, and a non-official or NGO. That was the pattern followed in Gujarat. So this type of, and also we should have a grievance redressal mechanism. That is very, very important. Otherwise, most of the cases, a lot of grievances take place and problems arise. So these are some of the points. So I should say that we must limit it to this aspect when we talk about the future strategy. What should be the broad approach? Broad approach to shelter, broad approach to livelihood, and how to involve the people, how to involve the NGOs. So that one outline, if we can prepare in this session, that will be worthwhile. And I'll request Mr. Chandi Prasad Bhatt to provide an outline. And I hope we know your perspective. You have done so much of work, and he has been, in fact, 10 years ago, we invited him after the Kutch earthquake, and Mr. Bhatt gave us a lot of insight. So I hope in about 5 to 10 minutes or so, he can provide a broad guideline. And after that, each of the speakers, I think I will request in about 7 to 10 minutes, you can give your ideas on some of the issues which I have highlighted.
रूप से मिश्रा जी का जो गुजरात में हुआ वहाँ से बहुत कुछ सीखा। इसके अलावा लातूर में भी जिस प्रकार जो वहाँ के कलेक्टर थे, एक कमांडर की तरह दिन भर तो लोगों से बात करते थे, रात को घूमते थे और अपने लोगों, तो इस प्रकार से उनका समय बचता था। 20-25 साल से शर्मा जी के साथ ये आपदाएं इत्यादि, तो मुझे खुशी हो रही है कि अध्यक्ष और उपाध्यक्ष ऐसे लोग हैं जिनके साथ पुराना रिश्ता रहा। जब आप कृषि मंत्रालय में डिजास्टर का था तो आपने वहाँ रह करके भी बहुत सारे काम करवाए। मुख्य रूप से जो आगे का रास्ता वाली जो बात है, इसमें पहले तो मैं जो बचाव वाली बात है, तो उत्तराखंड का जो मॉडल है वो तो बहुत ही उत्तम रहा, जिसमें सेना ने, अर्धसैनिक ITBP ने और डिजास्टर जो बल बचाव बल है यहाँ का, और वायुसेना ने, और स्थानीय जो उत्तराखंड सरकार के भी जिम्मेदार लोग थे, उन्होंने अपनी क्षमता के आधार पर जो काम किया, कोऑर्डिनेशन, वो अपने आप में एक वो है कि उससे आगे के जो आपदा के बचाव के लिए एक रास्ता जैसा खुल रहा है। मेरा एक निवेदन ये है कि ग्राम स्तर पर हमारी ग्राम पंचायतें जो हैं, उनमें आपदा की एक समिति बने और उस समिति के में प्रोटोकॉल जैसा भी हो कि उस ग्राम सभा में या उस ग्राम पंचायत में जो पंचायत मंत्री है या शिक्षक है, जो भी हो, जैसे हम 26 जनवरी को झंडारोहण में जरूर सम्मिलित होते हैं। गांव में कोई डिजास्टर आ गया तो वो अधिकारी कर्मचारी भी और गांव के लोग स्वयं स्फूर्त वो और उस ग्राम पंचायत के आधार पर, और उनका लिंकेज इन संगठनों के साथ, माने नज़दीक ITBP है तो ITBP के साथ मिलिट्री का कोई वो है तो उनका फ़ोन नंबर इस प्रकार से। तो एक तो मेरा बचाव में यह है। राहत की जो बात है, कई लोगों ने अपने अपने ढंग से प्रदर्शन वो दिखाया भी, जैसे शांति कुंज वालों ने या आप लोगों ने अलग अलग ढंग से जो काम कर रहे हैं, तो इसमें उत्तराखंड सरकार भी अपने क्षमता के आधार पर इतनी विपरीत परिस्थितियाँ कि आज तक सड़क, हमारे जो 4-5 धाम है वहाँ सड़क तक नहीं पहुँच पाई। विपरीत परिस्थितियों के बावजूद भी NGO मुख्य रूप से राष्ट्रीय और प्रदेश के जो स्वयंसेवी संगठन है वो भी अपने अपने ढंग से काम कर रहे हैं। लेकिन मेरा एक निवेदन यह है, जैसे लातूर में देखा या गुजरात में देखा, वहाँ की परिस्थिति दूसरी थी, मैदान वाली बात थी, उससे रोड रास्ता तो बंद हुआ नहीं, पर वहाँ पर हमने देखा कि कलेक्टर के दफ्तर से कहते थे NGO को कि आप फलाने गाँव में जाए, मैंने एक जगह तो वो ना, क्योंकि जब भुज में मैं तो 7 दिन बाद पहुँचा, तो तब तक कुछ सेटअप हो गया था। इसी प्रकार लातूर में भी 2-3 बार गया। तो एक तो वहाँ से ये सोचा कि मतलब कई जगह ये होता कि एक ही गाँव में 3 NGO चले गए या 3 व्यक्ति चले गए, क्योंकि इसमें केवल NGO या सरकार ही नहीं बल्कि व्यक्तियों ने भी मदद की। कई मेरे उसमें वो है। तो एक तो ये दोहरा वो न हो, भले हमारे यहाँ की भौगोलिक परिस्थिति भिन्न है। दूसरा मैं आपको उदाहरण देना चाहता हूँ कि जब पूरा वैली ऑफ फ्लावर के नीचे के 2 गांव थे, भुनार और पूर्णम, दोनों गांव बिल्कुल पूरी तरह से नष्ट हो गए थे। वो जोशीमठ में आए थे, उनको रेड क्रॉस सोसाइटी ने बहुत अच्छे टेंट दे दिए थे, माने 15-20 हज़ार के प्रति उस जितने भी टेंट। और मैंने वहाँ देखा कि बारिश आई थी तो जमीन में मिट्टी थी। NGO ने, दूसरों ने, तीसरों ने कंबल दिए, खाने के बर्तन इत्यादि, और हमने देखा कि वो कंबल से पानी उनमें आ रहा था। तो मैंने अपने मित्र को, क्योंकि हमने तो ये लेने का बांटने का काम पिछले साल तक किया, लेकिन इस साल हमने कहा कि बहुत हो चुका है। और
not only for civil but also for defense agencies. What we observed is, because some people may be trained, some people may not be aware of certain things which are available. Equally important is we at different segments we have to plan certain programs. That's what I feel, sir. Thanks for this opportunity given by NIT.
Thank you, Dr.
Experience I had in Uttarakhand. Sir, first thing I would say is, and which is the simplest for all of us to do, is to at least solve the known problems. If I were to catalogue, and I think I'll be able to satisfy most of the experts over here, that we know many problems over and over again. In 2002, and it is on record, this is on papers, this is in reports, 2002, 2010, 2012, and 2013, and if you go past, there was a long list. So what are these known problems and why are we not solving them? Let me also say here that known problems and known knowledge and technology. What is remarkable is that we have the competence, we have the knowledge, and we know the problems.
In the early warning system, so Dr. Ban will give a brief account as to what IMD is doing to improve the skills of predictions, and that is coming through partly enhancing the observational network and partly through improvement in the modeling aspects, and also what could be the way forward. Thank you, Mr.
No, again, I would like to say,
I'll be presenting, sir, what is the current status of the meteorological services in the state and what future plans we have. And before that, a bit of climatology and how the event unfolded in meteorology. So if you see, everybody knows, the state has 2 precipitation seasons. In the winter, it's affected by the western disturbances. In the monsoon, by the Bay of Bengal branch, by the Arabian Sea branch, sometimes both. And sometimes both plus a western disturbance. And this is the recipe for meteorological disasters. Very heavy rainfalls historically also are associated with this kind of situations. And as I told you, 2 seasons, if you see the climatologically compared with the country as a whole, it is ranked 4th among the 36 meteorological subdivisions in terms of total precipitation for winter season, and 9th for the monsoon season, and ranked 4th in August and 7th. So it's a heavy rainfall zone, that's known to everyone, and prone to heavy rainfall, snowfall, thunderstorms. Special variations are very high from terrain and topography, adds to the impact of whatever events takes place. And these are the historical events. The blue ones are for monsoon season, our time records, and the greens are for the winter season. So in monsoon season, 24-hour accumulated rainfall in excess of 20 centimeters is not uncommon. It happens year after year, and even in winters more than 100 millimeters is not uncommon. And
ahead of us is not that we don't have the knowledge, that we don't know how to deal with these issues. Issues are not new to us. As have been said by various speakers before me, we have documents with us, reports with us. We also have how to go about it and how to solve it. Only issue is lethargy somewhere in the system, insensitivity, and that's precisely where I think that the perspective of a person like me, who is essentially a constitutionalist, a believer in the constitution, in the Indian legal system, that we can address these issues more effectively and in much shorter time frame than envision, if we approach the right courts in the right manner, with the right material before them, and this can be also depicted by the fact that when I was stuck up in Gangotri while all this was happening, I could request my friends in Supreme Court. They could move a petition filed on 20th June, taken up on 20th June by the Supreme Court on mentioning, and order passed the same day at 2 p.m. and 2:30 we could see the enforcement of the order of the Supreme Court.
First of all, study why it happened.
No, that
So
is
it is-
true, but only thing that is too heavy a subject for this time of.
Number two is the expansion of hydroelectric power, giant hydroelectric in this particular region. There is a continuous construction of road to serve the growing population. Then no early warning system based on the real-time data. Lack of awareness among the local people, community. So what needs to be done? First of all, we need to identify vulnerable region in the hilly areas and study the complete ecosystem of that region by mapping biodiversity, glaciers, forest, wildlife and cultural landscape. Collect all these satellite as well as the ground truth data, model it, simulate it and try to identify the hotspot and the gap areas in particular region. And next is the develop the early warning system to real-time monitor. So this real-time monitor should include continuous monitoring of the movement, development of the stresses and the pore pressure on the part of the land.
Much, then psychosocial support is required to be taken in a big way, and livelihood restoration, alternative innovative with community consultation, which is important. Then whatever infrastructure, roads, public infrastructure, dams, highway, whatever has been done, it has also to be done on using the scientific ways and means. And strengthening of early warning system has already been mentioned. I would also like to mention about what Mr. Dugal also mentioned. There is need for SOPs on Char Dham Yatra, because more than I think 2.5 crore people visit this area, which is much more than the population spatial, and how do we take especially the ground management and related pilgrimage sites. A large number of strengthening is required for the health and emergency support functions, strengthening of the whatever the existing emergency operation centers we have.
As we were discussing that this will not be the last one, but this is the beginning of the series of this kind of workshop, and I'm sure that I'm sure that people are willing to speak more on response, more on preparedness, more on state side, and so on and so forth. I mean, one day was not enough, but I think this is a very, very good beginning which is made by us. As far as this session is concerned, I think all the speakers start from Chandi Prasad ji, which is reservoir of knowledge, and he was talking basically on role of NGOs and local knowledge and environmental management basically, which is linked with the. So I think his point, and the chairman has already said that somebody should talk to him, at length and note down, because he knows the whole history, and he started a number of things in Himalayan area. Then Dr. Bhandari and Krishnamurthy ji, because IIRS is such a good institution which is existing in Uttarakhand, I think we can make use of it.
Request will be there more, because there are many things